Toward the World Issues Center, connecting community for change.
Anine, hello, Bojo, and welcome back to our listeners. This is your host, Sarah Lewis from the Toward the World Issues Center, also known as KWIC, and this is the KWIC Talks With You podcast, where we discuss global issues and our local initiatives that foster equitable and sustainable communities. KWIC is a nonprofit organization that creates change in three main areas. That's community education, youth and in-school opportunities, and umbrella support for small and emerging initiatives. My name's Sarah. I'm the digital communication specialist here at KWIC. I'm a mother, a poet, a social justice activist, and have also participated in this project. So I'm going to start off with a land acknowledgement, as we do, and I want to start this podcast. It's how we start this podcast off in a good way, to acknowledge the land in which we are situated and recording on in Nagojmanong, also known as Peterborough, and the Kawartha area. Nagojmanong means place at the end of the rapids in Anishinaabe, the Anishinaabe language. This is Mississauga Anishinaabe territory where the Williams Treaty 20, was signed. We honor the land, the water, the air, our history, and our treaty relationships, our ancestors and future generations, and the original caretakers of this land as we work towards reconciling our relationships. So, miigwech, and thank you. This is the third and final episode within the three-part series. Today we will be reuniting with KWIC's program and outreach coordinator, Shaylin Wabagushig, once again to delve into the final report, where we will go from here and some hopes that she might have. So welcome back, Shay. Thank you for being with us again today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Sarah, for leading these podcasts.
Miigwech. So, jumping into the first question. So, all of the workshops are completed, with the Gender Equality and Disabilities Workshop closing up the series. I'm just curious to know about what the next steps might look like.
Yes, great question. And we heard that from a lot of the participants in the workshops. So we always say that the next steps are to share the work that we've done on the project. Like, we've brought together so many incredible people and perspectives, and we are sharing that in the final report, which is going to be released in mid-April. And that report will be available and sent out to all of the participants in the project, the partner organizations, everyone that was at International Women's Day this year, and with decision makers in the community, so that people who are advancing gender equality locally will have this resource to kind of set a foundation for where we're at in gender equality locally. And there's also a vital signs report that we created and released on International Women's Day. And vital signs is a report that's created by the Community Foundation of Greater Peterborough in partnership with us at KWIC, to share about the work that's being done on gender equality in the community. So that's really what our next steps are, and I can talk more about how we are, as an organization, going to continue this work on gender equality and the Sustainable Development Goals as a whole.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Lots of reports to come. And you mentioned this final project report. What sort of information or key learnings might we be able to find in this document?
Yes, great question. So the document is about 10 pages long, but it has, starts off with a land acknowledgement about the Williams Treaties and Treaty 20 First Nations. It talks about who is involved in the project, our key principles in the project of centering Indigenous leadership, leaving no one behind, and intersectionality. Intersectionality refers to a lens through which you can see where power comes and collides. It's the acknowledgement that everyone has their own experiences of discrimination and privilege. And that term was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, who's an American lawyer, philosopher, many things. And then we talk about what the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are and what's gender equality to the UN. We talk about the context of the project, where it came from, and the foundations that we have advancing the gender or the Sustainable Development Goals, and what this project is all about, our activities, who it was led by, and the workshops in detail. So then we get into a summary of all the different workshops, the 6 workshops, like the specific dates and number of participants, their gender identities, partners involved in each workshop. So really into detail. And then we have some themes where we share what we learned in each workshop as it pertains to each of the themes. So the first one is intersectionality and gender. What is gender equality to the participants? Experiences of gender equality or inequality. What are the gaps to advancing gender equality locally? And how we achieve gender equality locally. So some next steps and recommendations for moving forward. And then also linking that to the vital signs report. So yeah, lots of really good information to come, because it was a really big project, and it's a lot to kind of distill into something digestible for the community. So yeah, we're working hard on that right now, trying to do that justice.
KWIC, yeah, I agree. It's good to have all of this in one area, and then we can just refer back to it, or community members can refer back to it. Excited for that information to be made available. Moving on, why is this report important, and how do you think this will benefit the Goshenong Peterborough? And where will community members be able to access this report? I think you might have spoke to that a little bit already.
So firstly, where community members can access this report is going to be on our project webpage, and we will link that in the description. But as to why I think this project is important and how it will benefit Nogo firstly, I believe it will benefit Nogo because advancing gender equality advances all sustainable development goals, and it advances all movements towards social, even environmental justice. So there's a lot of interconnections here that we break down in the final report. So the intersections of gender and the environment is, how we treat people is how we treat the earth. So when we treat all people with respect and dignity, we will treat our earth that way. And learning how to shift and to transform our societies to be more inclusive and safe for all people, I think is the main work of this project and of gender equality. So accepting people and loving people and making sure they're safe is very important. So yeah, I think it'll benefit Nogo, and this work will also benefit not just our community, but will ripple out into the world in a good way and support other communities who want to learn how to advance gender equality and don't know really how to do that in an inclusive and equitable way. So as I said, in our project, we centered Indigenous leadership. So we really get into that in the report. And the way that we did it, we outlined how our project worked and, paying people equitably for their time. So we offered all the participants honorariums for their time and their energy and sharing with us. And, I think that benefited many people in Nogo itself, just to have these conversations and to have space for that and to have their voices amplified and empowered in such a way. So I'll stop rambling now.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, safety, first and foremost. I think that's the bare minimum at this point. And yeah, these workshops were truly a testimony to the inequality and the things that happen, but the good work that is currently happening and the good stuff that needs to happen. So yeah, I think this was a really good project, and has already felt, the community has already felt the effects and the benefits from it. So I guess I'm just curious, so after the report is released, how do you think the community might utilize this work and enact the work that needs to be done to achieve gender equality?
Thank you for this question. And I think you alluded to it a little bit in your response to my last question, is that it has already benefited the community, and it has created a momentum on work towards gender equality. And the community is doing lots of work on gender equality right now, because the Community Foundation of Greater Peterborough received funding from the Community Foundation of Canada to advance gender equality locally. So many organizations received a similar funds that we did, and we're all working towards that in many different capacities based on the organization's skills in the community. So, we're going to keep advancing this work, and I know that the community will as well. And so we hope that in sharing the work that we and all of the information that we gathered, we hope that this is going to be shared out with the community to empower those voices, to share these stories in our community that don't often get talked about. And so this will inspire people to make change, because they can see what's needed and what's happening. So on an individual level, and then also sharing it out as broadly as possible to our leadership, so that counselors, city members, people who make decisions in various capacities, whether it's governance or healthcare or education, can look at this and have a common kind of ground foundation for how they can advance gender equality locally. So we hope the community in all sectors, all areas of the community will utilize this work.
Likewise, I also am hoping that the community takes interest and wants to continue equality for all, because wonderful workshops and project. And I guess now I'm just curious to know if there will be a continuation of this work at KWIC.
Yes, so KWIC has submitted a couple of grants to a couple funders to continue this work. So as KWIC is a convener of conversations on global issues in our local community, we will be continuing to host workshops. And that's one thing that we really heard from most of the workshops participants in most of the workshops, was that we need more of these spaces to talk. Like, I believe we only scratched the surface. I wish those conversations could have been longer, could have been in person. I think there's a lot more work that still needs to happen, and that will also provide opportunities for people to get engaged in these conversations. And these workshops will also provide opportunities for people to learn more and have an education on gender issues that has happened throughout history, nationally, and the work that's happening globally at the UN level, and then also to the community level. So we hope that these workshops will be provided to the entire community, to youth in schools, to communities, to organizations, and we can continue having these really important discussions.
And definitely, I think that this work will be passed down to the next cohort at KWIC, just because of all the knowledge and all of the excellent outcomes that have come from the project. So to close up our 3-part series, one final question that I have is, what is something that makes you hopeful for the future? And any other final thoughts that you might have?
Thank you. Yeah, so what makes me hopeful for the future is knowing that there is a great momentum towards social justice and gender equality, and sustainable development. So I know that people are learning more and having more discussions and engaging more on these topics that didn't used to really be so mainstream in the past few decades, generations. So I really have hope for this generation, and not saying like just the youth, but like this generation of people, of humans who live on the planet, who are talking about this and seeing that there needs to be a change, and who are really I believe some people are very empowered and motivated and energized to create better systems for our future generations, for how we live on this planet with each other. So that makes me hopeful for the future. Also, our artists like Sarah Lewis, the Peterborough Poet Laureate, who is creating amazing art. And that's another thing we learned in the workshops, was that there's a lot of art that is creating this, fueling this movement towards equality and justice, and really touching the hearts of people, which is what's needed, I think, to really make a meaningful shift. And yeah, some final thoughts. I believe I just want to say, Chimigwach, thank you so much to everyone who is involved in this project, from the project team at KWIC to the Community Foundation, to all of the participants, and to our partner organizations. All of you had invaluable contributions, and your voices are so important. Your energy is so appreciated. So I honor you, and I respect you, and I appreciate you, and I love you. So Chimigwech, yeah, take good care.
Thanks so much, Shay, for providing us with that in-depth explanation of what we should expect in the final report, and just providing us with your energy and your presence and your words of wisdom, and yeah, your hopes, some hopes of your own. I am very grateful to have been a part of this project, to be here with all of the team members, and with Shaylin specifically. So we're going to wrap up. This was our final episode on KWIC Talks with You. It's been wonderful connecting with everyone. I myself feel hopeful for the future, and feel that this is exactly the type of work that needs to be continued to achieve gender equality. So to close, I will share a few excerpts from a famous poem by Maya Angelou, an ode and tribute to the resiliency, power, and strength by those who are oppressed and marginalized. And this one is called Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise up from a past that's rooted in pain. I rise, I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling. I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Well, that's it, folks. We look forward to future episodes discussing future projects while we work towards our dreams of a just society, locally, nationally, and globally. Thank you for tuning in to KWIC Talks with You. Take care. Bamapi Gwamin Minwa, which means until later, see you again.
Bamapi Guapmin.
KWIC World Issues Center, connecting community for change.